Hi, my name is Ashley Bugby, and this is my Module 4 presentation. This is the presentation I would give to a Board of Education that reached out and wanted me to discuss how I would better working relationships between a Board of Education and a superintendent, and as well as a Board of Education and all of the stakeholders involved in education in general. So I pulled out some main points from the resources, three main points that I think organize the idea as well. And the most important, of course, is that we need to be student-centered no matter what we do. The decision-making within a district needs to be student-driven. We need to use data, we need to look at things and how it's going to affect the achievement of our students. So things that boards can do is to create agendas, board meeting agendas, that focus on some things that are student-centered and driven. Of course, we've got to take care of buildings and personnel and things like that, but we also need to talk about curriculum. We need to talk about test scores. We need to talk about chronic absenteeism and how are we addressing that, and how can we provide resources to meet the needs of these things to ensure that our students are getting what they need. Putting forth agendas that have things that affect students in those ways will show the constituents that board members are there truly for the students. Because I think sometimes in today's world, unfortunately, people get into board positions that are not necessarily there for that purpose. And boards want to be able to show that they're there to serve students and have the best interests of them in mind. Another way to do that, there's studies that prove boards that put out a common message of wanting to have high student achievement and providing ways for their students to reach their goals, they tend to have higher achieving districts. So if there's a common mission and vision and goals, and then the board backs that up by providing the resources to meet those things, a district tends to be higher achieving. I also found it interesting that you could bring board members into your professional development. Obviously, they're busy people and they may not be able to make it, but if they're the ones that are going to be able to help decide whether we're going to pay for a certain curriculum, or if we're going to pay for a system that would have MTSS supports, if they come and they're able to be a part of the training or to be a part of the discussion of, disaggregating data and seeing what you really need, you're building an understanding. And anytime a board can be visible and work with teachers and staff, it creates, a level of trust that is there also. Boards also need to take the time to be knowledgeable about policy, stay current on, actively seek information on local, state, and federal education policy and laws and things that are being proposed. They need to work with local legislatures to make sure that they understand things within the education realm as far as it goes with policy and law. Next, I think one of the main goals or things that I would propose, and I kind of talked a little bit about collaboration in the last one, but boards have to be able to communicate and they need to be willing to collaborate. It's not just one meeting a month, and that's ever changing, but we know in today's world that boards serve a much bigger purpose than that, and any time that they can collaborate with stakeholders is a way of forming those communication bonds as well. So having public visibility builds trust. If you come to games, if you come to professional developments, or you come to celebrations, you come to the concerts and things along those lines, that is an important way to show and build trust. Just attending those things builds trust. Boards should be members of celebratory rituals. So if you're going to give out scholarships one night, have board members come to do that. Invite board members in when you're celebrating students so that they can see achievements, and the students can also feel the community is supporting them as well. Community committees, I thought that this was a really great idea, that board members can be on community committees, whether that's the Chamber of Commerce or it could be a museum committee. If they are willing to reach out, and I know some of the difficulty can become that we are busy people and there's a lot of time. But if you can, I could encourage board members to become a part of those. That's another way for them to reach out to people that they serve and to, just become more visible and to open those lines of communication. That the board could set up an advisory committee, and this advisory committee could be of students and teachers and community members that work with the board. So invite students in to discuss maybe policies they're setting. If you're setting a new dress code, have students come in and tell them their opinions of it. Obviously, the students may not get the final say, but to bring them in and to have them feel like they're a part of it creates, a human connection there as well. And promoting a common message to develop a common language and a set of communication standards. So if you're discussing something, especially if something may be controversial in any way, shape, or form, or it might upset this group, to make sure that as a board, you discuss, now how are we going to go discuss this out in the community? What are the things that we are able to say to help our community members understand this? Is also very, very important to me, and anything in education, to make sure you have 2 to 4 communication mechanisms. You're not just putting stuff out on a Facebook page. You are not just posting stuff on Twitter. You need to make sure that you're finding ways to meet all of those people, especially in your taxpayer base, and communicate with them and just make sure that they have an opportunity to reach out to you if they have questions and understanding. So making sure that you have multiple ways of communication. I really liked that one of the resources discussed a board as a team, because they are absolutely a team, and they're a team that makes really, really big decisions for a lot of people. And because of that, they need an opportunity to do team building and training themselves. Just like teachers and admins do continuous professional development, boards should take an opportunity to do that themselves. So boards should have to do some sort of annual training or retreat that involves them and the superintendent, that includes an outside facilitator, somebody that maybe is an expert in education that's not even from the close community, because being able to not have a bias or not to be from the outside looking in could provide a really good perspective for maybe difficult conversations as well. I also think that outside of a yearly retreat, that there should be quarterly work sessions that are outside of normal board meeting nights, because you could informally discuss things or issues, such as if a board have created goals for the year that maybe say that you want to raise the percentage of students that are proficient in ELA and math state assessments, being able to take the opportunity to sit down with data and to sit down with teachers. This is when you could bring that advisory council that has students and teachers to talk to the board in more of an informal setting than an actual board meeting, to discuss issues or ideas with them. And I think that these quarterly work sessions would also help board meetings run more efficiently as well. A part of these training and retreats, and really one of the first things that should be done hopefully every year between a board and a superintendent, is that they need to establish norms. They need to define the roles of what the board does for the district and what the superintendent is expected to do for the district. And establishing those norms just helps create an understanding and a good working relationship between the board and the superintendent as well, so that the superintendent doesn't accidentally do tasks that are more meant for board members, and maybe the board members aren't getting as involved in the day-to-day operations that a superintendent should be in charge of. So I think that's a really important thing that would be nice to discuss, and probably include that facilitator in that conversation as well. So some of the best practices that I would discuss with them again is finding a ways to collaborate. So getting them involved within the school, Come to the school, see what we're doing, be a part of the school day, be a part of our celebrations, come to events, come to be a part of our classroom, tour, sit in classes, and communicate, find multiple ways to do that. Make sure that everything is student-centered, and finding ways for them to learn and build their team within themselves, I think provides, all of these things provide a way for the board to truly become a team and to ensure that they are addressing students' achievement and the students' needs and students and staff well-being overall as well. Here are my references, and thank you.